Dear students, welcome to day 7 of your online English class. Today in this video, we will look at the next chapter, that is chapter number 3, The Dragon Rock, written by Elena Ashley. The people in a valley believe that a large rock that looks like a sleeping dragon will help them in times of trouble. Let's find out what happens when the valley has a very dry and hot summer. Once upon a time, and I want you to imagine this, there was a steep valley filled with giant, spiky green pine trees and thick grass. Wild flowers spread their sweet perfume along the gentle breeze, and bees hum musically to themselves as they cheerily collect flower pollen. So this valley was filled with very big spiky green pine trees, as you can see in the picture. And there were wild flowers spreading nice fragrance or sweet smell along the breeze. Bees were busy collecting pollen, and as they were collecting the pollen, they would hum to themselves or they would sing to themselves while doing this. Now people were very happy in the valley, and they used to work hard. They would keep their houses spick and span and their children's faces clean. The people in the village, they were very happy, they were very content, they were very hardworking, and they would always keep their houses spick and span. It means that they would always keep their house very neat and clean and organized, and they would also keep their children's faces clean. They would look after their children and they would keep their children's faces clean. This particular summer had been very hot and dry, making the lean farm dogs sleepy and still. Farmers whistled lazily to themselves and would stand and stare into the distance, trying to remember what it was they were supposed to be doing. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the village would be in a haze of slumber, with grandmas nodding off over their knitting and farmers snoozing on the haystacks. Now the weather was so hot that it made the farm dogs sleepy. Farmers would whistle to themselves because they were very bored. They could not go out as it was really hot. They would stand and stare for some time, and then they would sleep on the pile of hay. Grandmothers, they would sleep while knitting. And by 2 o'clock, all the village would be sleepy. Slumber means sleep. They would all be in the haze of slumber, and they would be very sleepy by 2 o'clock as it was very hot. No matter how hot the day, however, the children would always play in the gentle, rolling meadows. With wide-brimmed hats, they chittered and chattered like sparrows as they frolicked in their favorite spot. Now the children were very different there. The children in the valley, they did not care about the hot summer. They would always play in the meadows. They chattered like a sparrow, and they played with lot of energy around their favorite spot. So when the adults, they could not go out as it was really hot, they could not go out for their work, but the children, they used to play outside, and they had a favorite spot. What was their favorite spot? Yes, that's very important to this story, because in this particular spot is a large scaly rock that looks similar to a sleeping dragon. So this spot had a large rock which looked like a sleeping dragon. Everyone knew that it was a dragon, but nobody was scared because it never moved. So as the dragon never moved, they were never scared of the dragon. The children played near an area where there was a rock which looked like a sleeping dragon, Adults, children, everyone knew it was a dragon, but it did not move, so nobody was afraid of it. The boys and girls would clamber all over it, poking sticks at it and hanging wet boots on its ears. But it did not mind. The men would chop firewood on its zigzag tail because it was just the right height. The ladies often spun sheep fleece on its spikes. Now people use this dragon rock for various purposes. Children, they used to poke sticks at the rock, and they had their wet boots, wet shoes. They used to hang it on the ear of the dragon. Now, how did the men use the dragon? The men would chop wood on its tail, and women would make wool from sheep using its spikes. So, in all these ways, they would use the dragon. But the dragon did not mind. It was always sleeping, so it did not say anything to them. Now, often on a cool night when the stars twinkle brightly in a velvet sky, grown-ups would settle for the evening with a mug of coffee in a soft cushion armchair. Then the stories about how the dragon got there began. Nobody knew for sure. So in the evening, after the children would sleep, the adults would sit with a mug of hot coffee and they would discuss that how the dragon got there. And everybody had their own version. So nobody exactly knew how did the dragon come there or how did the dragon got there. But everybody had a different version of the story. So nobody agreed to each other because they all had different stories about the dragon. How did the dragon come there? But everybody agreed on one thing. They all believed. You can repeat it with me. In times of trouble, the dragon will wake and free the village by making a lake. They all believe that the dragon is going to help them in times of trouble. Now everyone remembered, adults, children, everybody remembered this little poem. So I hope you will also remember this poem. Let's look at some question before moving on to the next part. How is the valley described? The valley was filled with giant, spiky green pine trees and thick grass. Wild flowers spread sweet fragrance along the gentle breeze. Second question, what are the various things people did on the Dragon Rock? Can you answer this question? People did various things on Dragon. Men would chop firewood on its zigzag tail because of its right height. Women, they made wool on its spikes, and children would hang their wet boots on the dragon's ear. Last one, did everyone agree about the origin of Dragon Rock? Why do you think so? No, they did not agree because they all had different versions of story depending on which family told the tale. But they all agreed that the dragon will help them in the day of trouble. Let's move on to the next section. The days went by slowly, quietly, and most importantly, without any rain. The wells were starting to bring up muddy brown water, and clothes had to be washed in yesterday's dishwater. The lawns faded, and flowers drooped their beautiful heads. The valley turned browner, drier, and thirstier, and it was very hot. Now time passed very slowly, and there was no rain. The wells had dried up. People had to wash their clothes in dirty water. The lawns and fields and the surroundings had lost its color, and the flowers also dried. All the people, animals, flowers, they were all very dry and they were thirsty. They longed for water or they longed for rain. Now people were very worried. They would always look up in the sky and they hoped that it would rain. But nothing happened, not even a single drop. So they were all very anxious. They really wanted some rain. They wanted some relief from this hot weather, but nothing happened. Now it was very hot for the children to go out and play in the direct sun. So they would gather out in the shade of tree, digging holes in the dust and snapping brittle twigs. Now what happened? The children, they would always go out and play, remember? So now it was so hot that they could not step out in the direct sun. So they used to play under the shade of the tree. Now one of the child said, the dragon will help us soon. I am sure he will, said another. Now these children, they were very optimistic. They were very sure that the dragon is definitely going to help them. A week went by without any change. The people struggled and tried to survive. Some were getting cross at the dragon and they would cast angry looks at it. The villagers were becoming skinny and sullen. Meanwhile, the children had a plan. They plucked the flowers and they placed the flowers around the dragon in a big circle. They danced around it, skipping and chanting the rhyme. Now, there was no sign of rain. The people of the village, they grew weak. They were all very skinny because there was no water, there was no rain, it was so hot. So because of all these reasons, they were very weak and they all grew skinny. Some of them were very angry. Why were they angry? They were angry because they thought that the dragon would help them. But the dragon was not doing anything. It was just sleeping. So they were very angry at the dragon and they would always give angry stares at the dragon. But the children were very hopeful and they did something different. They placed flowers. So they plucked flowers from all around and they placed it on the dragon and they danced around it, singing the poem which they knew. Remember the rhyme that they were singing? Yes, in times of trouble, the dragon will wake and free the village by making a lake. So they chanted this rhyme and they danced around the flowers and on the dragon rock. Now the severe heat made the children dizzy and they fell on the bottom of the mount. Then they looked up, but nothing happened. So it was so hot that they could not, dance for a long time. So they fell on the bottom of the mount and they were taking rest. And at times they would look up that something would happen, but nothing happened. Then the dry wind picked up some flowers and twisted them around. The air was filled with the sweet smell. So they had put flowers on the dragon. So what happened? The dry wind, it took some flowers with it, and because of that, the fragrance or the sweet smell was all around. A grey nostril twitched. Twitched means to give a sudden jerk or a movement. So there was some kind of a movement that happened. A small boy cried, "I saw something." The ground began to rumble. All the children started to run in different directions. So something had happened. The earth was shaking. The ground was, it began to rumble. So all the children, they were very scared and they ran in different directions. Yes, why did this happen? You're right. It was the dragon. It stood up and stretched. It blinked his eyes, which appeared, it was like really big, kind and long lashed. Its nostrils twitched and trembled again. So it again began to tremble and finally the dragon had woken up. The older folk were alerted by the screams and shrieks. The ladies held up their long skirts to run, and men rolled up their sleeves, and soon the whole village stood together at the foot of the hill, staring at the large beast with mouths held open. Now when the people got to know that it was a scream of the dragon, and the children were running here and there. When they got to know that, they all gathered and they looked at the dragon which was standing before them. They could not believe their eyes. That was a noise made by the dragon. Now, when people heard this noise, they gripped each other and they shut their eyes. Then the dragon sneezed, and the blast split open the dry earth, sending explosions of soil into the sky. Now, when the dragon sneezed, what happened? The earth blast open, it split open, and as a result, water, cold, clean spring water, oozed along the valley floor. Finally, people saw water after so many days. They were all longing for water. They were looking forward that it would rain. So after so long, the water was there before their eyes. Now everybody was happy. Ladies laughed and men whistled. Now they were all smiling, and after some time their smiles turned into hurrays and yahoos. They were all very excited to see the water. Then the dragon moved forward with surprising grace and style and disappeared into the cool, dark water. Now what happened to the dragon? It disappeared into the water. Now people never saw him again. Now after this day, this dragon was nowhere to be seen. But they were so happy and thankful. So as a result, what happened? They made a bandstand. You can see in the picture. So they made a bandstand on the same spot for the dragon's memory. So where the dragon rock was there, on the same spot, they made a bandstand in the memory of the dragon. And every year they would gather and arrange flowers and celebrate the day as Water Dragon Day. So this particular day, when dragon saved them from the hot weather, when they were not having water, dragon came and he provided the water, right? So to mark this day, or to mark this occasion, they named this day as Water Dragon Day. And every year they would gather near the bandstand, and they would decorate it, and they would arrange flowers and celebrate this day. This was their way of showing gratitude, or they showed that they were thankful to the dragon for saving them. And the children would clap and sing, and they would sing that the dragon helped us as we said he would do. Hooray to the dragon. So they were all very happy, and they would sing the rhyme, and they would really celebrate on that day. So that is the end of the story. Let's look at the summary of the chapter. There was a valley filled with big spiky green pine trees. People of the valley were very happy. They were very hardworking people. But this particular summer was very hot and dry. It made the dogs, the farmers, and all other people sleepy. So by 2 o'clock the whole village would sleep. But the children of the valley were very energetic. Even in the hot sun, they used to go out and play in their favorite spot. Now their favorite spot was a rock which looked like a dragon. But nobody was scared of it because it never ever moved. Children would often go and hang their wet shoes on the dragon's ear. Men would chop firewood, and women would spin wool. So everybody had a different story of how the dragon rock came there. But they all believed that the dragon would help them in times of trouble. Now it grew really hot, and the days were also passing very slowly. Children could no longer go out and play in the direct sun. People of the valley, they grew weak and they grew skinny. Some people were very angry with Dragon Rock as it did not do anything, because they believed that the dragon would save them in the time of trouble, but the dragon was not doing anything. But the children believed that the Dragon Rock will definitely help them. So they spread flowers on the Dragon Rock, and they danced and they chanted the rhyme. Then they got tired because it was very hot and they sat on the mound. Then a nostril twitched. It was the dragon. Children ran here and there. The dragon had woken up. Then it stood up. The people could not believe their eyes. They were very, very afraid. The dragon sneezed again, which made the earth split open and water came out of it. So as a result of dragon sneezing, the earth split open and fresh and clean water came out of it. Now people were very happy. They all whistled and laughed because they were waiting for some water. Remember, they were longing for rain. So when they saw the water, they were very, very happy. The dragon moved forward and then it disappeared into the water. Then they never saw the dragon again. So in the memory of Dragon Rock, they made a bandstand on the same spot, and every year they celebrated the day as Water Dragon Day. So they celebrated with a lot of singing and dancing, and they would chant the rhyme, and it was named the Water Dragon Day. It was like an offering of gratitude to the dragon, because the dragon had saved the lives of the people. So it was like a thanksgiving, or it was like showing their gratitude to the dragon. Time for some questions. Let's discuss reference to context. First one, he must do something. Who spoke these words? He must do something. Who said these words? Remember, in the story there were a lot of children who believed that Dragon Rock will do something. He's going to help them out of the trouble. So one of the child spoke these words, that he must do something. Who does he refer to? Who is he in this line? He is the Dragon Rock, or he refers to the Dragon Rock. Second question, the families gripped each other and shut their eyes tight. When did this happen? This happened when the dragon had come alive. So all this while they all thought that the dragon was sleeping, even though they believed that the dragon would get up and help them out of their trouble. But when the dragon actually woke up, when it stood before them, and they all gripped each other and they shut their eyes tight. So second one, why did the people do this? The people did this because they were very scared, they were very afraid, they did not know what the dragon would do, so they closed their eyes. Third one, every year to mark the occasion they would A. What was the occasion? Yes, the occasion was the day when the dragon had saved the villagers or the people of the village by providing them water, right? B. What was the occasion now called? The people were very happy because of what the dragon had done for them. So they celebrated this occasion, and now this occasion was called the Water Dragon Day. Now let's discuss the question answers of the chapter. First one, why was no one scared of the Dragon Rock? No one was scared of the Dragon Rock because the Dragon Rock never ever moved. Question number 2. How did the heat affect the people, animals and plants? I want you to think about the answer and then we will discuss. The days went by slowly, quietly, and most importantly, without any rain. The lawns and the fields faded, flowers drooped their beautiful heads, the valley turned browner, drier, thirstier, and it was very hot. So that is how it affected the plants and the fields, and it made the animals very lazy, and especially the farm dogs, they were sleeping throughout the day. People were also affected from the heat. They were also very lazy, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, all the villagers would sleep. Even the farmers would sleep on the haystacks, and it was so much hot that the people of the village, they grew really weak and skinny. Next question. Why were some people angry with Dragon Rock? Some people were angry with Dragon Rock because they believed that the Dragon Rock would help them in times of trouble. But when the heat came and there was no water, there was no rain, they all longed for the Dragon Rock to do something. But nothing happened. The Dragon Rock was not doing anything to save their lives. So that is why some people were angry with the Dragon Rock. Last question. What was the children's plan? How did they carry it on? Even though the adults were not very hopeful, the children, they never lost their hope. They were very, very hopeful. So what did they do? They made a plan. They placed flowers on the dragon and danced around it, singing the rhyme which they knew. So they sang this rhyme and they placed the flowers on the dragon, and they danced around and they sang this rhyme. In times of trouble, the dragon will wake and free the village by making a lake. So they would sing this rhyme and they danced around the Dragon Rock. Children, I have a worksheet for you. It's a true or false question. Now you know the chapter very well, so you can read it and you can write it down that whether these following statements are true or false. So there are 6 questions. Read it and you have to write it down. Then there is one more question. Children, I want you to put your thinking cap and think about this question and write it down in your notebook. Describe in your own words how the dragon came alive. So you can write it in any notebook or any rough copy. So think about it and write the answer. Thank you, students, for watching the video. I hope that this lesson is clear to all of you. If you have any doubts, you can note it down and we will discuss it later. Keep learning and remember the lesson and try to learn the question answers. And please do the assignment that is given to you. See you tomorrow at the same time.